They say in every market storm, someone is quietly making history, not with loud predictions or viral fame, but with the steady heartbeat of conviction. And sometimes the one who teaches us the most never even shows his face. True mastery does not need a spotlight to shine. The faceless trader embodied this truth with every silent move he made on the market screen. In a world obsessed with visibility, where fame often passes for credibility, he chose the opposite path, anonymity. Yet it was this very invisibility that magnified his influence. He became a paradox, the trader no one could see, yet everyone wanted to learn from. His lessons were not spoken but lived, embedded in his trades, his restraint, and the rare glimpses of his thought process that surfaced in obscure online forums. Through that silence, he redefined what it meant to be a master, not someone who seeks recognition, but someone who seeks understanding. In the modern age, visibility has become a form of currency. Traders livestream their screens, post every gain, and build audiences around performance snapshots. The market has turned into theater. But while the crowd shouts, true wisdom often hides in the quiet corners of the digital space. The faceless trader understood this. He didn't need validation because his motivation was never attention. He traded to understand patterns, to study psychology, to master his reactions. His profits were byproducts of a deeper pursuit, the pursuit of clarity. He was not interested in being known, he was interested in knowing. That distinction separated him from the rest. Mastery without fame is a rare discipline. It requires one to detach from ego, to focus purely on craft. The faceless trader practiced this detachment daily. When the market rewarded him, he didn't celebrate publicly. When it punished him, he didn't seek sympathy. He understood that both applause and criticism are distractions. What matters is the process, the rhythm between analysis and action, the patience to wait when others rush, and the courage to stay silent when noise dominates. In every decision he made, he reaffirmed a timeless truth: mastery is not proven through visibility, but through consistency. This idea resonates far beyond trading. In every field, the desire to be seen often overshadows the desire to improve. People chase followers instead of fundamentals, likes instead of learning. The faceless trader's anonymity was not an act of mystery. It was an act of focus. By removing the temptation to perform, he freed himself to practice. His isolation became his edge. Without an audience, he could fail without fear and succeed without vanity. Every mistake became a lesson, every breakthrough a private victory. In that solitude, he grew sharper, steadier, and more self-aware. While others broadcasted their ambition, he cultivated his quietly, like a craftsman perfecting his art in a workshop no one visits. Fame in many ways dilutes mastery. Once someone becomes known, the world's expectations start shaping their actions. They begin trading not for themselves, but for the image others have of them. The faceless trader never carried that burden. He owed nothing to the public and thus could remain honest, with his strategy, his emotions, his limits. That honesty made him free, and freedom, in trading as in life, is the most valuable currency of all. He could adapt without explanation, evolve without judgment, and disappear when needed. His identity was irrelevant, only his results and insights mattered. In that anonymity, he discovered purity, the kind of focus that transforms skill into art. Perhaps that is why his story spread so widely. Despite the lack of a face or a name, people were drawn not to who he was, but to what he represented. The possibility of succeeding quietly, the reminder that excellence does not need validation. His legend grew not through interviews or headlines, but through the quiet ripple effect of authenticity. Every trader who studied his moves learned something more profound than market strategy. They learned humility. They saw that success without character is hollow, and that real achievement whispers instead of shouting. In the end, the faceless trader became a mirror for everyone watching. He forced others to confront their own reasons for chasing success. Was it for mastery or for attention? For growth or for recognition? His silence became his statement, a rejection of the superficial, a devotion to the real, and though he never showed his face, his impact became a face for an entire generation of traders who realized that greatness doesn't always wear a name tag. It resides in the quiet corners of effort, in the patience of process, and in the invisible moments where no one is watching but you. That is the essence of mastery without fame, a flame that burns steadily, not for the world to see, but to light one's own path. The market, in its rawest form, is not a battlefield of numbers but a mirror. It reflects not just trends and prices, but the very psychology of the people who engage with it. Every candlestick, every rise and fall, reveals more about human emotion than about economics. The faceless trader understood this better than anyone else. He knew that before conquering the market, one had to conquer the self. Every chart he read was not just a map of movement. It was a dialogue between discipline and desire, patience and panic. And in that silent conversation, he found the real challenge of trading, mastering one's own mind. Most people believe they are fighting the market, a giant, unpredictable force that must be defeated with strategy and intellect. But the faceless trader saw through that illusion. The market doesn't fight back, it simply reacts. The real opponent is not an external entity but an internal storm. The fear that makes you sell too early, the greed that makes you hold too long, the pride that blinds you to your own mistakes. These emotions, subtle yet powerful, are what destroy traders far more often than miscalculation or bad luck. The faceless trader turned his focus inward, learning to observe these emotions without being consumed by them. That was his secret weapon. Not a formula, not a signal, but self-awareness. He once wrote in an obscure forum post, "If you can't control yourself, the market will control you." Those words, simple yet sharp, echoed across the trading community. They captured a truth that most ignore. The charts don't decide your fate. Your reactions do. Every trade is a test of temperament. When a stock plummets, do you panic or pause? When it surges, do you chase or wait? These decisions are not about market knowledge, but emotional mastery. The faceless trader thrived because he approached trading as a form of meditation. He didn't seek to predict every move, but to remain calm within chaos. In doing so, he transformed trading from a gamble into a discipline. To him, each loss was not a failure but feedback. Every bad trade revealed a weakness in his mindset, not just his method. He analyzed not only what went wrong, but why he reacted the way he did. Did impatience make him act early? Did overconfidence cloud his judgment? Slowly, through this introspection, he began to trade less against prices and more against his impulses. Over time, his portfolio became a reflection of his emotional maturity. The more he mastered his thoughts, the more consistent his results became. His success, then, was not proof of superior intellect, but proof of emotional balance. This philosophy extended beyond trading. In many ways, life itself mirrors the market. Opportunities rise and fall, emotions fluctuate, and people often act out of fear or desire rather than clarity. The faceless trader's lessons applied to these rhythms as well. He showed that control is not suppression. It is awareness. One cannot eliminate fear or greed. One can only recognize them and choose not to act on impulse. Just as he waited for the right entry point in a volatile market, he waited for the right moments in life, moving with purpose, not pressure. The beauty of his approach lay in its simplicity. There were no complex algorithms or secret strategies, just a deep understanding of human nature. He believed that once you understand yourself, the market becomes less intimidating. Because the market, like a mirror, never lies. It reflects every flicker of hesitation, every burst of excitement, every hidden insecurity. It exposes the truth of who you are under stress. Most people run from that reflection. The faceless trader stared into it every day, learning to recognize his patterns and reshape them. His calmness was often mistaken for luck. But luck doesn't repeat itself over years of volatile cycles. What repeated was his discipline, the ability to stay centered when everyone else was losing balance. While others blamed the system or sought shortcuts, he quietly refined his inner control. That discipline became his invisible edge, stronger than any indicator or tool. And in that process, he taught a generation that trading was never about beating the market. It was about aligning with it, and with oneself. In the end, the greatest realization he offered was that success in the market mirrors success in life. Both reward those who understand themselves, who can pause before reacting, who can remain calm when chaos reigns. The market is not cruel or kind. It is simply honest. It shows you who you are when no one else can. And that is why the faceless trader, though unseen, became a teacher to many. He taught that before one can master numbers, one must master emotions. Because the charts only reflect what the trader brings to them: fear, greed, or peace. The market, after all, is just a mirror, and the clearest reflection always comes from within. Learning through action, not applause. That was the essence of the faceless trader's philosophy. In a world where everyone is eager to be seen, to be praised, and to be followed, he chose the opposite of silence. He did not speak of success, he demonstrated it. He did not preach discipline, he practiced it. And in doing so, he created a form of education far more powerful than any seminar or textbook. His lessons lived in his trades, in the patterns he followed, in the restraint he displayed, and in the quiet corrections he made after every mistake. He became a teacher without titles, a mentor without words. His influence grew not because he sought it, but because others saw truth in his example. Most traders seek validation. They post their profits online, share screenshots of their wins, and bask in fleeting moments of approval. But the faceless trader had no need for applause. He understood that applause can be dangerous. It feeds the ego, and ego blinds the mind. The more one seeks recognition, the less one learns. To learn is to admit imperfection, to perform is to hide it. The faceless trader lived entirely in the realm of learning. Every trade, win or lose, was a lesson waiting to be extracted. He approached the market not as a stage for performance, but as a laboratory for growth. Each click of the mouse was an experiment in decision, making, risk, and emotion. When he lost money, he didn't hide it, he studied it. He treated failure not as something to be ashamed of, but as a form of tuition, the price one pays for wisdom. That mindset separated him from the many who quit after setbacks. Most people run from loss. He walked into it, analyzed it, and emerged stronger. He knew that every loss carried a message, and that true progress only comes when one has the humility to listen. Over time, this habit of reflection became his greatest asset. It wasn't his strategy that made him special. It was his relentless curiosity about why things happened and how he could adapt. His few public writings reflected that humility. There was no arrogance, no claim of secret knowledge. He shared observations, not declarations. Things like, "The market punishes pride faster than greed," or "Patience is a position." Simple statements, but each rooted in experience. These words resonated deeply with traders who had felt the same pain, the same rush, the same confusion. His authenticity spoke louder than any boast could. People trusted his silence more than others' noise, because silence, in his case, meant substance. Learning through action means accepting that real understanding comes from doing, from feeling the sting of error and the thrill of precision. The faceless trader lived by that rhythm. He didn't chase perfect predictions, he chased better decisions. Each trade was a small step toward mastery, not a performance for others to admire. That attitude made his growth sustainable. He wasn't driven by the need to prove, but by the need to improve. The difference may seem small, but it changes everything. One path ends in burnout, the other in wisdom. He once disappeared for months, during which many speculated he had quit. When he returned, he revealed that he had spent the time studying his own trading logs, reviewing every decision he had made over the past year. That level of self-examination is rare. Most traders move on quickly, searching for the next opportunity, the next thrill. He, however, understood that growth happens in the pause between actions. Reflection is where experience transforms into knowledge. The market rewards action, but wisdom rewards observation. He balanced both. His journey became proof that teaching doesn't always require a classroom. Sometimes, the most powerful teachers are those who simply embody what they believe. He never called himself a mentor, but thousands considered him one. His transparency, his consistency, and his dedication to learning made him an example worth studying. He reminded others that progress isn't about external approval, but internal evolution. You don't become better by being seen. You become better by seeing yourself more clearly. In the end, the faceless trader's legacy was built not on words, but on actions repeated with purpose. He showed that the path to mastery is not glamorous, not public, and often not understood by others. It is made of quiet mornings, long nights, and the relentless effort to turn mistakes into lessons. He proved that learning is not an event but a lifestyle, one that requires patience, humility, and persistence. And perhaps that's why his story still echoes among those who seek real growth. Because in a world that rewards performance, he chose progress. In a world that seeks applause, he sought understanding. And in doing so, he taught that the truest education is lived, not celebrated. Patience over impulse. That was the rhythm that defined the faceless trader's craft. In a market where seconds can separate fortune from failure, patience might seem like a weakness, but to him it was power. While others chased movement, he waited for meaning. While the impatient sought excitement, he sought clarity. He understood that the market rewards not the fastest, but the most disciplined, not the one who acts first, but the one who acts right. And so, in a world of instant gratification, he mastered the art of waiting, the art that separates the gambler from the strategist, the noise from the signal. Every trader knows the temptation of impulse, the flashing numbers, the sudden surges, the fear of missing out. They pull at your emotions like a tide. The faceless trader was not immune to them. No one is. But he learned to observe his impulses rather than obey them. When others rushed in, convinced they were seizing opportunity, he paused and asked a simple question: why now? That question, repeated often, became his shield against impulsive behavior. In the time it took for others to act recklessly, he built perspective. He waited for the moment when the market's chaos revealed its pattern, and only then did he move. His trades looked slow from the outside, but they were precise, each one the product of patience sharpened by discipline. Patience, he believed, was not the absence of action but the presence of control. Waiting was not about doing nothing, it was about preparing, studying, observing, and aligning. The market is a living organism, he used to write, and it speaks to those who listen long enough. Most traders, he said, lose not because they lack skill, but because they lack stillness. They act on emotion, mistaking motion for progress. But in trading, as in life, movement without purpose leads to ruin. The faceless trader knew this intimately. His greatest trades were not born from impulse, but from observation, from watching the market breathe, learning its rhythm, and entering only when the noise quieted enough for truth to be heard. There were times when he sat for days, sometimes weeks, without making a single move. Others mocked him for it, calling him overly cautious, too passive. Yet when he finally acted, his timing seemed almost supernatural. But there was no magic, only patience. He didn't need to trade every day, he needed to trade right. He treated opportunity as something earned through waiting, not found through chasing. He often compared the market to fishing. You can cast your line 100 times in a frenzy, he wrote, or you can wait for the water to ripple just right. Only one method feeds you, the other exhausts you. That philosophy, though born in the market, applied to everything. He saw patience as the foundation of wisdom. To him, most mistakes in life come from haste, from reacting too quickly, from fearing delay. People rush into jobs, relationships, and decisions the same way traders rush into bad positions, afraid of missing out, afraid of stillness. But patience is not the same as delay. It is direction refined by time. By waiting, you don't lose time, you gain clarity. The faceless trader understood that every great decision demands a quiet mind and a steady heart. His followers, those who studied his methods, began to notice how his patience shaped not just his performance but his personality. He never spoke of luck. He spoke of alignment, of being ready when the right moment arrived. That readiness came from hours of observation, not seconds of impulse. He built his success on the discipline to wait, even when everything inside him screamed to act. He taught that restraint is not weakness, it is the highest form of strength. Because it is easy to move when you feel pressure, it is hard to not move when the world expects you to. The faceless trader's legacy is a quiet one, but his lesson on patience continues to echo. In an era where everything moves faster, information, prices, opinions, his calm approach feels almost revolutionary. He showed that patience is not outdated, it is timeless. It is what separates the temporary winner from the enduring master. Anyone can act in haste, few can wait in wisdom. And perhaps that is the essence of his greatness. He didn't conquer the market by predicting every move, but by mastering himself within it. He knew that the most valuable opportunities are often invisible to those who rush. The truth reveals itself slowly, and only those who can wait long enough will see it clearly. In trading, in life, and in every pursuit that demands judgment, patience remains the invisible edge, quiet, unseen, but unstoppable. The faceless trader proved that the path to success is not paved with constant motion, but with deliberate stillness. He taught that waiting is not wasting time, it is refining it. And in a world that glorifies speed, he became a reminder that the greatest victories often belong to those who move last, but move perfectly. Legacy of perspective, that is what the faceless trader left behind. He did not leave behind fame, a brand, or a fortune carved into public memory. He left behind something rarer and more enduring, a way of seeing. His absence became his message, and his invisibility became his most profound symbol. In an age where everyone wants to be known, he chose to remain unknown, and in doing so, he taught an entire generation that the value of a person lies not in their visibility, but in their vision. He never appeared on camera, never sought interviews, never attached his real name to his words. His identity was an enigma, but his insights were crystal clear. He showed that what truly matters is not who you are to the world, but how you interpret the world within yourself. Most traders chase patterns on screens. He chased patterns in thought. While others measured success by numbers, he measured it by growth, mental, emotional, and philosophical. His perspective turned trading from a game of profit into a practice of perception. To him, the market was not just a financial system. It was a mirror of life, a test of patience, character, and awareness. His invisibility stripped away distraction. Without a face to idolize, followers had no choice but to focus on his ideas. They couldn't imitate his appearance, his tone, or his charisma. They could only absorb his mindset. That was the true gift he left behind, not methods, but mentality. He forced people to think instead of copy. In an industry obsessed with shortcuts and secrets, he offered none. What he offered instead was perspective. The understanding that mastery begins when you stop chasing others and start understanding yourself. Perspective was his compass. He viewed failure not as a fall but as feedback, success not as a trophy but as a test of humility. When others saw chaos, he saw rhythm. When others panicked, he observed. This ability to reframe every situation, to see lessons where others saw loss, defined his approach to both markets and life. He understood that perception shapes reality. How you see determines what you do. A trader who views every downturn as disaster will act out of fear. One who sees it as opportunity will act out of insight. The faceless trader taught that same truth in silence, that what destroys most people isn't the event, but their perspective on it. By refusing to show his face, he became a metaphor for something larger. He reminded people that identity is not built from what is seen, but from what is understood. The absence of his image forced others to look inward. His facelessness symbolized detachment, the kind of mental freedom that allows one to focus fully on craft rather than perception. It's easy to get lost in how others see you. It's harder to see clearly when you stop caring about that. He achieved that clarity, and it became his quiet form of immortality. The more people studied his trades, the more they realized that his greatest legacy wasn't his financial success, but the way he made others rethink their relationship with success itself. He showed that the market, like life, rewards awareness more than ambition. To chase profit blindly is to lose perspective, but to see profit as the result of patience, discipline, and self-knowledge, that is where true mastery lies. He taught people to step back, to breathe, to see beyond numbers and charts, to understand that the greatest returns come from the mind, not the market. His influence rippled quietly through the trading world. Young traders who once sought quick wins began to slow down, to journal, to observe themselves as much as the prices they tracked. They began to understand that seeing the market clearly starts with seeing oneself clearly. The faceless trader's anonymity allowed his lessons to transcend him. He became an idea rather than a person. An idea that humility is not weakness, that obscurity is not failure, and that the truth's teachers often remain unseen. In the end, his legacy was not built on how much he made, but on how deeply he changed the way people thought. He taught that perspective is the invisible framework holding every decision, every action, every trade. Change the way you see, and you change the outcome. His face was never shown, but his vision became unforgettable. The faceless trader's story is a reminder that the greatest impact often comes from those who are not trying to make one. That wisdom does not demand recognition, it only demands authenticity. He left behind no image, no spotlight, only perspective, a timeless inheritance for those willing to see the world and themselves with clearer eyes. His legacy, therefore, is not written in fame or fortune, but in perception. Because long after faces fade and names are forgotten, the way we see, and the lessons that changed how we see, will always remain. And so, as the screens dim and the markets sleep, we are left with his greatest lesson, that true greatness does not demand to be seen. The trader who never showed his face proved that wisdom does not shout, it whispers through consistency, through patience, through quiet conviction. He disappeared into silence, yet his teachings echo louder than any applause. So when you next sit before the endless flicker of charts, remember this. The face may fade, the name may be forgotten, but the vision remains. Because in every generation, there will always be one who trades not for attention, but for understanding, and it is that unseen hand, steady, humble, and wise, that moves the world forward.